Minimalism promises peace, yet so many people declutter their homes and still feel restless. Closets are tidy, desks are clear, apps are deleted, and yet something inside keeps buzzing. If less stuff is supposed to equal more calm, why does the calm so often fail to arrive? That question lingers quietly for a lot of people who tried minimalism and felt underwhelmed. Not disappointed exactly, just puzzled, as if they followed the instructions correctly but didn't get the result advertised. Here's the uncomfortable curiosity worth sitting with. What if minimalism isn't enough because peace doesn't come from what you remove around you, but from what you stop carrying inside you? Minimalism is often treated like an external solution. Fewer objects, fewer clothes, fewer distractions. And while those things can help, they're only the surface layer. You can own very little and still live a complicated, pressured, anxious life. You can have white walls and empty shelves while your mind is crowded with expectations, comparisons, obligations, and unfinished emotional business. Peace doesn't live in your environment alone. It lives in your relationship with life. This is where many people quietly get stuck. They simplify their possessions, but not their pace. They declutter their homes, but not their calendars. They reduce physical noise while emotional noise keeps shouting. Minimalism without deeper simplicity can feel like rearranging furniture in a house that's still on fire. The deeper truth is this: peace doesn't come from having less, it comes from needing less. And need isn't just about objects. It's about approval, certainty, validation, control, achievement, and reassurance. You can live with 10 possessions and still desperately need things to go a certain way to feel okay. That dependency is where tension hides. Think about how often your peace is conditional. I'll relax when this is done. I'll feel better once they respond. I'll be happy after I fix this. These conditions quietly follow you even into a minimalist life. The shelves may be empty, but the future is still crowded with expectations. Peace keeps getting postponed. What actually brings peace is not subtraction alone, but release. Release of the belief that your life must constantly be optimized. Release of the pressure to prove that you're doing enough. Release of the idea that every discomfort needs to be solved immediately. Minimalism can clear space, but only simplicity of mind teaches you how to rest in it. There's a reason some people move to quieter lives and still feel uneasy. Silence has a way of revealing what busyness was hiding. When distractions fall away, unresolved thoughts rise. Old worries resurface. Questions you avoided get louder. This isn't a failure of simple living. It's the beginning of it. Peace doesn't arrive because nothing is happening. It arrives because you stop running from what's happening inside you. Another hook worth tugging on is this. Many people use minimalism as another form of control. They control their belongings, their routines, their inputs, hoping control will create safety. But peace doesn't come from controlling life. It comes from trusting yourself within it. That trust is internal. You can't buy it or organize it into existence. Simple living goes deeper than minimalism by asking harder questions. Not how many things do I own, but how many things own me. Not how little can I live with, but what can I stop chasing? Not how can I make my life look simple, but how can I make it feel gentle? Gentleness is often missing from minimalist conversations. There's an unspoken pressure to do simplicity correctly, to have the right aesthetic, the right rules, the right discipline. That pressure quietly recreates stress in a new form. You might give up clutter, but replace it with self-judgment. You might reduce consumption, but increase rigidity. Peace doesn't thrive in rigidity. It thrives in kindness. A simple, happy life is built on acceptance more than design. Acceptance of limits, acceptance of seasons, acceptance of imperfection. When you accept that you are human, not a machine, life stops feeling like a constant project. You're allowed to have days that are quiet and days that are messy. You're allowed to rest without earning it. That permission is profoundly calming. One reason minimalism alone falls short is because it focuses on the visible. Peace is largely invisible. It shows up as fewer mental arguments, fewer rehearsed conversations, Fewer imaginary futures where everything goes wrong. These don't disappear when you throw things away. They fade when you stop feeding them. Ask yourself something gently radical. How much of my stress comes from trying to manage outcomes I can't control? Minimalism doesn't automatically answer that question. Simple living does, because it teaches surrender where surrender is needed and effort where effort actually matters. There's also the issue of pace. You can live minimally and still live fast. You can do fewer things but rush through all of them. Peace requires slowness, not laziness, but enough slowness to feel your own life. When everything is hurried, even simplicity feels sharp. When you slow down, even ordinary moments soften. Notice how often happiness is sacrificed for efficiency. Faster meals, faster conversations, faster days. Minimalism can accidentally reinforce this by encouraging streamlined routines without questioning whether speed is the problem. Simple living asks a different question. What happens if you let things take the time they take? Peace also comes from emotional simplicity, saying what you mean, wanting what you choose, letting go of complicated explanations. When your inner world aligns with your outer actions, tension drops. You stop performing versions of yourself for different situations. You become easier to be. Another overlooked truth is that peace grows when you stop mentally living in multiple places at once. Many people are physically here, but mentally everywhere else. Past mistakes, future worries, other people's opinions. Simple living invites your attention back home, not through force, but through fewer demands on it. Minimalism might clear your desk, but simple living clears your mind by reducing unnecessary self-pressure. It encourages you to stop grading your life constantly. Stop asking if you're doing it right. Stop turning every decision into a referendum on your worth. That mental quiet is where peace finally has room to settle. There's also freedom in realizing that you don't need to extract maximum value from every moment. Not every hobby needs mastery. Not every interest needs productivity. Not every day needs to be meaningful. When you release the demand for significance, life becomes lighter. Ironically, moments feel more meaningful when you stop forcing meaning onto them. Simple living teaches you to trust enough. Enough rest, enough effort, enough connection, enough progress. Without enough, there is endless striving. With enough, there is rest. Minimalism might reduce your belongings, but only simplicity teaches you when to stop. You can feel this shift when you stop over-planning your future. Plans are useful, but over-planning is anxiety disguised as preparation. Peace grows when you allow life to meet you halfway. When you leave space for surprise. When you admit you don't need to know everything in advance. Another subtle source of peace is reducing internal resistance. Fighting reality is exhausting. Wanting today to be different than it is creates friction. Simple living doesn't mean liking everything. It means accepting what's here before trying to change it. That acceptance alone can feel like a deep exhale. People often assume peace comes from perfect alignment, the perfect job, the perfect routine, the perfect lifestyle. But peace is less about perfection and more about permission. Permission to be unfinished. Permission to be uncertain. Permission to be human. Minimalism rarely addresses this. Simple living is built on it. If you've ever felt calmer on a random afternoon with no plans than on a carefully curated day, you already understand this. Peace shows up when nothing is being demanded of you. When you're not performing, improving, or proving, simple living creates more of those moments on purpose. There's a quiet confidence that develops when you stop needing your life to look a certain way. You become less reactive, less defensive, less shaken by small disruptions. Peace isn't fragile anymore. It doesn't disappear the moment something goes off plan. Minimalism may remove excess, but peace arrives when you stop making your happiness conditional, when you stop waiting for life to settle down before you enjoy it, when you realize you're allowed to feel okay right now, even if things aren't resolved. If you're still watching, it might be because you sense that what you're craving isn't just less stuff, but less strain, less inner noise, less pressure to keep up. That craving is valid. And it's not answered by another method or rule. It's answered by a gentler way of relating to your life. Try this experiment quietly. For one day, stop trying to optimize anything. Eat when you're hungry, rest when you're tired, respond when it feels reasonable. Let the day be imperfect. Notice what happens. Often, peace slips in when you're not chasing it. Minimalism can be a doorway. Simple living is the room beyond it. And peace isn't something you build piece by piece. It's what shows up when you finally stop crowding your life with conditions. In the end, what actually brings peace isn't how little you own, but how lightly you live, how gently you move through your days, how willing you are to let life be simpler than you were taught it had to be. Minimalism promises peace, but for many people, it never fully arrives. That's because owning less isn't the same as living lighter. In this video, we explore why minimalism alone doesn't bring peace and what actually does. True peace comes from letting go, mentally, emotionally, and intentionally choosing what deserves your energy. This message is for anyone who decluttered their space but still feels overwhelmed, anxious, or restless. Simple living isn't about how little you own, it's about how free you feel. Watch closely. One mindset shift can change how calm your life feels every single day. Subscribe for more videos on simple living, intentional happiness, and mental freedom. See you in other videos on this channel.